Phew, grab your teacups because this right here, this ain't just gossip, it's a full-blown bombshell ready to rock Boosie Badaz's entire legacy to its core. Wack 100 just came out swinging with receipts that could shake the streets of Baton Rouge and dismantle the legend of one of hip-hop's most feared rappers. He's accusing Boosie of pulling the ultimate betrayal, throwing his own teenage hitman, Marlo Mike, under the bus for a murder that Boosie might have orchestrated himself. Yeah, you heard that right. According to Wack, Boosie allegedly set the boy up, not just to protect himself, but to keep his rap career out the line of fire when the feds came knocking. Now Wack ain't whispering, he's yelling with paperwork in hand, claiming that documents prove Marlo Mike was manipulated into taking the fall. We're talking sealed files, hidden confessions, and a twisted game that could have been playing out behind the scenes all along. If what Wack is saying is true, this wasn't just a legal case, it was a cold, calculated chess match, with Boosie making moves to save his image while a kid got buried alive in the system. Let's rewind to the wild moment that shook everything. The streets were silenced when a quiet teenage Michael, Marlo Mike, Louding, gave a calm, chilling confession on tape. Sitting across from detectives, he flat out said Boosie handed him $2,800 to take out Terry Boyd. Just like that, Boosie's name wasn't in Billboard headlines anymore, it was on court dockets. The feds were locked and loaded. That confession gave them everything they needed: motive, money, and a clear connection between Baton Rouge's deadliest rapper and a deadly hit. And just when you thought it couldn't get messier, it did. Prosecutors dropped phone records placing Marlo Mike right near Boosie's studio the night of the hit. But the wildest part, that incriminating tattoo across Marlo's stomach. Yo Boosie, who's next? Chilly. The visuals were nasty, and folks really thought Boosie's rap career was over. He was staring down the barrel of a life sentence, and the public was ready to write the final chapter on his story. But then, Marlo Mike pulled a 180. Out of nowhere, he retracted the whole thing, said the cops had him scared, that they threatened to lock up his entire family unless he pinned the murder on Boosie. In court, he flipped again, said Boosie never gave him a dime, never asked him to do a thing. According to Marlo, he was just caught in the middle of a dirty game the Da was playing. And get this, Boosie was never actually at the crime scene. No witnesses, no physical evidence, nothing that could truly tie him to the murder. That was all the jury needed to hear. In 2012, Boosie walked out not guilty, and folks thought that was the end of it. But baby Wack 100 says not so fast. He's claiming that confession wasn't a smoking gun, it was a smokescreen. Wack's version of the story is that this entire case was smoke and mirrors, a strategic sacrifice to keep Boosie clean. He says Marlo Mike wasn't some craze killer, he was a pawn pushed into a corner, pressured by both law enforcement and the streets. And now, Wack says sealed court documents, ones that never even made it into trial, are coming to light. And what's in them could burn Boosie's whole foundation to ash. So now we gotta ask, how did Boosie manage to stay in touch while a teenager got sentenced to life? Wack's theory? Marlo Mike was loyal to a fault and maybe too young to even realize he was being played. And let's not forget, the streets have been buzzing about Boosie's real role in that whole mess for years. Whispers, rumors, all that. But now, Wack is saying it wasn't gossip, it was a power move, and Boosie executed it with quiet precision. From his lyrics to his lawyers, everything was orchestrated, and that's just the beginning. Ready for the rest? Because it only gets darker from here. Woo, chilly. The streets been talking, but now it's looking like they finally got the receipts to back it all up. According to Wack 100, this whole real one image Boosie's been flaunting for years. Smoke and mirrors, baby. A carefully crafted persona designed to dodge the needle and keep his name hot in the game, while someone else, specifically a young and loyal Marlo Mike, sat in a cold prison cell doing life. Wack is calling it what it is, a setup, plain and simple. He says Boosie didn't just beat the system, he played it. And now, those sealed court documents surfacing, they might be the smoking gun the streets always said existed. Let's take it back to where it all popped off. October 20th, 2009. Terry Boyd was just trying to lay low at his sister's house in Baton Rouge after getting out of prison. Just past the M, the block got lit up. Shots rang out through the window, at least 6, and Boyd didn't even get the chance to run. Neighbors only saw shadows fleeing into the night. No faces, no names. But when the dust settled, Marlo Mike's name was the one ringing out, and the story he told detectives pointed straight at Boosie. That same hit, the one Mike claimed Boosie paid him $2,800 to carry out, that's the one that flipped Boosie's world upside down and dragged him straight from the booth to the courtroom. Now here's where the streets get loud. Word was that Boyd wasn't just some random target. Allegedly, Boosie was scared not just for his safety, but for his reputation. Rumors swirled that Boyd was plotting to jack and embarrass Boosie, something they call a jack and slap. And if that move had gone down, Boosie's whole image would have been torched. Wack says Boosie moved out of fear, not just for himself, but to send a message. The prosecutors? They ran with that theory too, painting Boosie as a paranoid star with too much to lose. But truth be told, Boyd had beef all across Baton Rouge. He wasn't just Boosie's problem. Still, all eyes landed on Boo, and Marlo Mike took the hit. Boosie beat the case in 2012, walked out not guilty. But that didn't bring closure, it lit a fuse. Because the moment Boosie got back out, he didn't lay low. Nah, he hit the booth like he never left, throwing shade, spitting bars about the case, and solidifying his street cred like the whole murder trial was just another lyric in his verse. But behind the scenes, Marlo Mike was rotting in Angola. No freedom, no spotlight, no comeback story, just life without parole. And Terry Boyd's family, still grieving, still watching the man they believe was behind it all live his best life on stage. That's why Wack 100 ain't letting this go. He's screaming it from every platform. This wasn't justice, this was power, fame, strategy. Wack says the system ain't broken, it's bought, and Boosie had the money, the lawyers, the status to skate free while a teenage boy got buried. From Wack's lens, this is bigger than one trial. This is a whole pattern Boosie's been playing for years. The Terry Boyd case? Just one chapter in a much dirtier saga, and let's be real, Boosie's record ain't squeaky clean. Before Boyd even got touched, Boosie had already caught charges. In 2008, he got busted with weed and a Glock. By 2009, he pled guilty on other charges that should have had him locked. And then from 2009 to 2012, his name stayed floating in the system. Drugs, conspiracies, his rap sheet was starting to look like a mixtape playlist. Then boom, 2010, the murder indictment. The streets were already buzzing, but when that charge dropped, it confirmed what folks had been whispering, that Boosie was moving grimy behind the scenes. But here's the kicker, even with all that, Boosie walks in 2012. And flash forward to now, this man is still out here flirting with the feds. In 2023, Boosie got caught up not once, but twice with loaded guns. First during a traffic stop, then outside a courthouse, no less. And 2024, it got even hotter. He got slapped with fresh charges, guns, drugs, and even interstate trafficking. If convicted, he's looking at 10 years minimum. But guess what happened? In July 2024, Boosie beats one of those federal cases thanks to a new Ninth Circuit ruling that just happened to work in his favor. And get this, he was the first person to benefit from it. Now, if you're Wack 100, sitting back and watching Boosie escape murder charges, beat federal gun raps, and strut around like Teflon Don while everyone else around him gets washed by the system, of course you're gonna keep pressing. Because to Wack, and let's be honest, to a whole lot of folks in the streets, Boosie's entire career is built on surviving situations other men never walk away from. And that don't just raise eyebrows, it raises hella questions. Woo chilly. Now, this ain't just gossip anymore, this right here. It's looking like the truth the streets been whispering for years is finally getting receipts to match. Wack 100 didn't just open his mouth, he came armed with sealed court docs, wild accusations, and a warning: everything you thought you knew about Boosie Badazz might have been a damn illusion. Wack is straight up snatching the mask off Boosie's whole real one persona, calling it what it really is: a performance. A calculated, cold-blooded performance to dodge the needle and keep his rap legacy intact, while the one person who rode for him hardest, Marlo Mike, was left to rot in a prison cell. Life without parole. No freedom, no spotlight, no second chances. And now, these sealed documents allegedly back up what the Oggs in Baton Rouge been saying for years. Boosie ain't the victim. He might just be the puppeteer. Let's rewind to the night the block got soaked in bullets. October 20th, 2009. Terry Boyd, fresh out of prison, just trying to lay low at his sister's crib in Baton Rouge. But around him, everything changed. 6 shots through the window. No warning, no mercy. By the time the smoke cleared, Boyd didn't even get a chance to breathe. Witnesses only saw shadows dipping into the night. No faces, no names. But before long, Marlo Mike's name was everywhere and his taped confession. It was the dagger. He told police Boosie handed him $2,800 to handle that hit. And just like that, Boosie's career pivoted from platinum records to possible death row. But here's where it gets grimy. Word on the street, Boyd wasn't just some random target. The whispers were loud. Boyd was planning to jack and slap Boosie, meaning not just rob him, but embarrass him in the streets. And Boosie couldn't risk that. His rep, his career, his whole persona depended on fear and respect. Wack says that fear drove Boosie to make a move, not just to protect himself, but to send a brutal message: don't test me. Prosecutors backed that theory too, painting Boosie as a paranoid rap star with way too much pride and way too much to lose. Still, let's be real, Terry Boyd had beef with a lot of folks, not just Boosie. But when the cops smelled blood and fame, they laser focused on the big name and Marlo Mike. He became the fall guy. Boosie walked out of that courtroom not guilty in 2012, and what did he do? He ain't lay low. Oh no, he hopped back in the booth, spit bars about the case, and flexed like nothing happened. Meanwhile, Marlo Mike is in Angola rotting. No interviews, no justice, no music, just a kid who took the fall and never came home. And let's not forget Terry Boyd's family, they're still mourning. Still watching the man they believe pulled the strings live his best life, laughing in VIP sections while they sit with a permanent loss. And that's exactly why Wack 100 won't shut up about it. Because to him, this ain't justice, it's privilege wrapped in a rap career. Wack is yelling loud, the system didn't fail, it got bought. Boosie had the cash, the status, and the attorneys to dodge what would have buried anyone else. And baby, this ain't just about one murder case. Wack is pulling out the whole rap sheet. Let's not act brand new. Boosie's been skating on thin ice for years. Back in 2008, he got caught with weed and a Glock in the whip. Then in 2009, boom, more charges. He pled guilty, but somehow still slid. Between 2009 and 2012, his name stayed in the system like a mixtape drop drugs, conspiracies, and wild behavior that should have locked most folks up for good. Then came the 2010 indictment, the murder charge that finally made the whispers scream. And even with all that heat, Boosie beat the case. Unbelievable? Maybe. But let's fast forward to right now, and it's clear the storm ain't over. In 2023, Boosie got popped twice for having loaded guns, once in a traffic stop, once outside the courthouse. You can't make this up. Then 2024 hit, and so did new federal charges, this time for moving weapons and drugs across state lines. If convicted, that's 10 years minimum. But guess what? Boosie beat another one. In July 2024, thanks to a brand new Ninth Circuit ruling, Boosie slipped through the cracks again. And wouldn't you know it, he was the first to benefit from that legal loophole. So now, if you're Wack 100 watching this man slide out of murder, out of federal gun charges, out of drug trafficking, while everyone around him gets buried, you're gonna say something loudly, because from Wack's POV, Boosie ain't surviving off luck. He's surviving off strategy, privilege, and maybe a few sacrifice pawns along the way. And baby, that don't just raise eyebrows. That raises hella suspicion.